right, this is your host of the day, Cade Archibald, and super excited to be here with two lovely ladies. And we're going to be diving into some really good magic around patient education and some of the health coaching components of our clinics. And so you guys are in for a treat. We got two really cool people to go over that. Before we dive in there, I want to cover some announcements. September 17th, that is going to be a live, or a virtual live peptide mastery. You can also come to Midway, Utah, and hang out with us if you're up for that. But the link is posted here. Go to gowellness.com/peptide master. It's where you're going to master A to Z peptides on how to sell, how to get someone, like how to know what's going to be ideal for this patient, and then really how to facilitate that program. So be there. We got a really cool agenda today. So special guest on with us today, one of our health coaches, clinic managers in Alpine, Carly. I'm going to totally butcher your last name. Chouinard?
That was perfect.
Good
job, Kate.
All right. And Carly is going to be diving into some of the health coaching and some of our patient education, along with the lovely Ann Marked. And this is kind of like a bittersweet moment for all of us. This is going to be Ann's last webinar here with us at Go Wellness. I might be tearing up here, but yeah, she's gonna leave us with some really good nuggets on how we've developed and how she's helped us develop some amazing patient education tools and platforms and processes. And so really excited about this. Anne has been a huge part of the Go Wellness community. She's been fantastic and amazing at keeping all of us and you guys out there connected, and so she'll be greatly missed. But she's got some really cool stuff she's going to be working on future-wise, and we'll see her on the big stage sometime, I'm sure. I'm gonna pass it off to you, ladies. I'm excited for this one.
Carly, I want to start with you and just hearing what brought you to East West and what you've been doing for them as a health coach. Carly has an amazing background, not only as a health coach, but I love that you studied psychology. I love psychology. You also do emotional freedom tapping, which I'm a huge fan of for clients, because we talk about that in the 3-4-5 method, where the emotional component is first in our EPIC acronym: emotional, physical, immune, and chemical. And I want to hear too some stories of how that's helped the patients of East West to, move through and beyond things that maybe the physical alone, tackling it from functional medicine, wasn't able to do in and of itself.
Yeah, for sure. So I've been a health coach about 7 years now, and I was able to teach in a setting within the business world. And while that was wonderful, I wanted to be able to have more one-on-one with patients. And so I sought out East West and was able to join them as a health coach. And in doing that, I was able to bring that emotional freedom technique to a lot more people one-on-one in a way that I hadn't been able to before then. And in speaking with some of our practitioners and explaining to them, hey, there is this emotional component, we've been able to offer quite a few of our patients that option. And we have had some pretty serious movement for those patients, in that we had one patient who's just been struggling with losing some weight and having some issues with just kind of wrapping her mindset around who she is and how she feels about herself. And so we were able to do some tapping sessions. And just in the last probably 3 or 4 weeks, she's had a breakthrough that she's enough. She's a good human being. She just has some struggles. And when she finally was able to recognize and realize that, she's actually been able to let go of 14 pounds. And her goal was 20. So she's quickly approaching that goal and has been able to make some pretty serious movement because she finally recognizes that emotional piece. and how important it is to, the eating right and the exercising and, all of the, we've talked quite a bit about having that morning mindset. We've talked about having those routines and rituals and just having that extra piece, being able to deal with and understand those emotions that are underlying some of those causes for her has been pretty significant.
I love that. And actually, I meant to say, for those of you who don't know what emotional freedom tapping is, Carly, can you give us a basic definition?
Yeah, so the idea behind it is that you physically tap on acupressure points, certain places on the face as well as on the body. And while tapping on those points, you have a discussion, or at least the way that I do it is you have a discussion about the emotions that are brought up while tapping on those points, so that you can process that emotion and then be able to let go of and or be able to go through and kind of deal with those emotions that have been building up, or as I like to say, we kind of tuck it away, kind of ignore it. And so we're able to, in the same way that acupuncture goes in and helps release that emotion, that's exactly what emotional freedom tapping does as well.
Yeah, and I would love to hear Reagan's perspective on this as an acupuncturist, but I don't know what these points are in acupuncture, but man, like, I love that I can do it from home. And every time I've tapped, you start with an emotion, you want to level 0 to 10, so you know where you're starting, and then you know where you finish. And every single time I do it, I will like decrease by at least 4 to 5 points. And I remember when I first learned about it, it was in a weight loss book where it's about, before you head for the fridge, when you know that you're like reaching for food in an emotional way, or really under any circumstance, do this first. It's like, you can still have the food after. Don't even tell yourself you can't. But people, sure enough, will say, you know what? I don't need that after all. I didn't realize that there was anger building up in me, or I was just stressed from a long day at work. And they can, make better decisions from that new headspace. That's usually like between 0 and 5. Like, it definitely decreases a lot. Reagan, what do you think about that? Like, I want to hear about the acupuncture side of things, if you're familiar with the pressure points for emotional freedom tapping.
Yeah, so yin tong, so you're essentially opening your third eye, and that helps you see the world through a much larger lens. Obviously when you've got that food craving that kicks in, you become very narrow in your focus, and you're like, as soon as I just slay that Snickers bar, I'm going to have some freedom in my life. But that freedom's pretty fleeting. And so, yeah, and then these are stomach points, heart points. This point right here relates to your do channel. So that's the governing vessel, which is like this area where the energy reverses. So you have two polarities going around. One's going this way and the other one going the opposite way. And I can't even do that, on the screen. It's just like, it'd take a minute to get, I'll do it when everyone's not watching me, but that's, it's an area where you can help stabilize the polarity, because so many of us with the EMFs we're surrounded by, our energy systems get completely short-circuited. And this point's also known as the Bruce Lee point. So Bruce Lee apparently died. He could have stopped the bleeding, but he was on some medication, and his death is kind of a mystery. But my Chinese teacher used to say, if Bruce Lee punches you there, you get knocked out. But it also, if you get knocked out, this is the revitalization point. So you can revive somebody basically from unconsciousness by pressing on this point really quickly. So when Carly's doing her emotional freedom technique, and I have no idea if those concepts align, but from a Chinese medical perspective, you're basically reviving consciousness to us humans who get driven by these conditions of habitual patterning, right? We all get, kind of delayed in what we're doing in life because we're just so used to our routine and we never evolve. So it's a way of freeing up that energy from a conscious perspective. Carly, how close was that based on your concepts of it?
I would say pretty close. There's a lot of buried trauma and things we just want to ignore. And when we tap on those points, it definitely brings, I tell people, it's like an onion. It brings it up to the surface so that we can deal with it. So I'd say you are spot on.
Nice. Well, good. I'm lucky. I didn't even have my book to cheat out of, so that's a first. One of our goals at Go Wellness is helping you guys all create your own educational curriculum, and so you'll see how this handoff is occurring between Ann and Carly. And how many of you actually have someone who does energy work with your patients, by the way? Because it's a really critical piece of the health coaching. Sometimes I'm sure, Carly, you're like, why are we even talking? Why don't we just like get the shit out of your way, and then you can start making progress, right?
100%, 100%.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll let you ladies continue on. Thanks. But chime me in anytime. I'm right here.
Yeah, thank you, Reagan. Yeah, I love emotional freedom tapping. It's always helped me a lot. And I sometimes, even as a coach, like learning functional medicine over the years, I would dive first into, the basics that, like we talk about in hacks, which I will go over soon, of hydration and, all right, let's clean up your diet and all these things. And it's so easy for me to get caught up in all of those physical elements, and I'll overlook the emotional piece that, like, I haven't given them enough time and space to just sit and open up about. And I remember recently in a conversation, this was many months ago, someone who was involved in our hacks and did very well with it. Actually, she lost 20 pounds in the first 100 days with the physical things we were doing. I talked to her about her eating patterns on the phone, and we had a moment together. And I was like, is there a moment in your past when you remember this starting for you, like the emotional eating pattern? And boom, it's like it struck a chord. She hadn't even thought of it. I think that this had been suppressed. She was like, I had some physical abuse in my past as a kid with my parents. And I was just like, okay, like I said, now we're getting somewhere. Because I feel like she could have done all the things and been so diligent. And there's that like unconscious self-sabotage happening because, yeah, like our bodies and, unconscious mind are trying to protect us. And without knowing it, she was reaching for the food as a comfort mechanism. And I've read about that a lot too, where it's not, everyone's experience, but they might keep overeating because they are identifying with that part of themselves and scared people won't love them if they lose the weight, or that it won't protect them anymore. Like they actually don't want to garner attraction from other people because maybe they have dealt with sexual abuse in the past, like some pretty deep things. So it's just to say that, like, just like we talk about in the 3-4-5 method, that emotional piece is so important, whether you do EFT or some other support mechanism. I think it's so important. Talking to your clients about therapy, we're not therapists as health coaches, but that piece comes up so much, where I felt like people feel safe, safe in that environment in health coaching to open up about these emotional things, which is so important. So that's like the first step, is having that conversation. Carly, I wanted to hear your thoughts on that as well, given your background in psychology, and maybe just like one story of an experience you had with a client like that.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that you talked about the safety aspect. That's one thing that I try to remind all of our patients when they come into their first health coaching, is that we are creating a safe space for them to be able to deal with those emotions. Because inevitably a lot of it comes up through the acupuncture as well as that energy work. And I've had many patients tell me, and I don't know that I could choose one in particular, but I've had many patients tell me that they're not sure why they're telling me something, because they just feel safe and they want to be able to get that out, and then they feel lighter and they feel a little bit more clear-headed, and like they're able to deal with the challenges in front of them, whether that's weight loss, thyroid, or Hashimoto's. I mean, name any of the things that our patients are coming in for. And so I think just that emotional piece is so important, because it helps them to tackle those physical elements, which I feel like the providers are really good at. Are you drinking your water? Are you doing the things that I'm asking you to do? Are you following the diet plan? And as a health coach, I can come in and reinforce that, but then also as an energy worker, I can help them clear out that clutter that's going on the inside that we can't see from tests. You don't know about physical or sexual abuse from a stool test. And so I think that just creating that safe space gives them the ability to then open up and discuss those emotional aspects that they are experiencing.
Yeah, I find that, yeah, I love that you said creating a safe space as well. And it is funny how, as a health coach, again, like they knew I wasn't a therapist, but they'd end up opening up more and even admit, like, I've opened up more to you about things with my emotional health than I have my doctor or my therapist. And I'm like, that's interesting. Like there's something that to be said about that.
Hey everybody, Reagan Archibald here with Go Wellness. And if you liked this episode, if it actually helped inspire you to be a better practitioner, help more people, establish a much better foundation for your business, then I'm going to ask a favor of you. And that favor is for you to share this with somebody you care about and love in the healthcare field. I don't mind if it's an acupuncturist, a functional medicine practitioner of any sorts, a naturopathic doctor, a medical doctor, any type of endocrinologist or specialist. We need to get this community strong, and we can't do it without your help. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the hard work you're putting in and day out. I know it can be a grind, especially with some of the chronic cases that you're treating, but this show will help transform the way that you think, help transform the way you practice, and change the lives of thousands. Thank you for being part of our community.